I'm Mike. I identify as that. Because the shoe fits. But I mean, I look at my birth certificate and it says Michael. It's pretty straightforward. I also identify as a musician, a comedian, a cartoonist, an anti-prohibitionist, an anti-censorship advocate, an atheist, a skeptic, a Gamergate supporter, a MGTOW, a women's rights advocate, and a men's rights advocate. I identify with all of these terms because they describe my outlook and all the things I do. Okay, now, before I get stuck into this, I'd like to propose a challenge. A simple challenge to anyone in the audience who's up for it. Give me off the top of your head 3 examples of things that men's rights advocates fight for. You got 'em? Be honest. Don't just give me the right to rape, murder, and beat women. Actually, be honest about what you hear men's rights advocates talking about. Just three things. Take your time. Pause me if you must. You got 'em? Good. By now, I presume most of you, are at least intermediately immersed enough to think of 3 things. Now, give me off the top of your head 3 things that feminists fight for. Be honest. Actually, be honest about what you hear feminists talking about. The first 3 things that come to mind. Or, any 3 things. You got them? Okay. Are they similar to the men's rights ones, except in a faraway continent? Are they similar to the men's rights ones, except a long time ago? Do they actually involve human rights? Or are they made-up bullshit like the wage gap? Or ludicrous bullshit like catcalling? Is there anything in there that compares with the things men's rights advocates typically talk about? In your own parts of the world, happening today? Also, how much influence do feminists have over our universities, our courts, and our legislature? How much influence do men's rights advocates have over our universities, our courts, and our legislature? Are we good? Are we on Earth now? Excellent. Now, I don't know. What should we do? Well, let's look at an arguably defensible statement. Every religion and atheism is getting feminized. I mean, it's a bit over the top, in my opinion. It's a bit clickbaity, but there is at least a sort of vein of truth to it. As we've seen, the games industry is getting feminized, or at least they're trying very, very hard indeed to feminize the games industry, and they've been met with a lot of pushback. And they feminized the atheist community, and were met with less pushback, which in itself is interesting. But if feminize is the verb form of feminism, then atheism is definitely getting feminized. Literally. Steve Shives is doing it right now. So the second part of this sentence is perfectly true. Actually, if feminize is the verb form of feminism, then it's fair to say our education system has well and truly been feminized. And as such, so has everything in our society that draws its moral compass from our education system. From TV commercials to blockbuster movies, there are rules and obstacle courses put in place by feminism, and a lot of us are pushing back against this authoritarianism, and as a result being viciously dogged by the press at every turn. This sentence you're looking at may seem over the top and clickbaity, but it is at least arguable. Now then, I wonder if we could get someone commenting on this. Perhaps someone whose head is floating right next to this sentence. I wonder if we zoom out a little here. Well, oh, hello.
I make fun of the MRA just as much as I make fun of feminism. They're the same thing as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so let's examine the statement, every religion and atheism is getting men's rights advocatized. You can't get anything past the censors or the professors or the government without first running it past the men's rights advocates. I'm not seeing any such claims on this page. Is there anywhere on the internet where I can find such claims? Such headlines as Our society is getting overrun with men's rights advocates? Jezebel, perhaps? Is that why you think the men's rights movement is the same as feminism? Because when feminists tell you things, you listen and believe? Now, while he was saying, Shu was saying, oh, you might have missed that, but it's the reason I'm not getting on Shu's back. I think that, was your honest reaction to what he's saying. The rest of it is just nervous laughter. I understand. I did the same thing with Sargon. He's like, rights of men isn't the same as men's rights, and I'm like, okay, let's move on, shall we? It's like he was like, it's not as though circumcision's mandatory. I'm thinking, okay, let's just talk about shives, shall we? Let's not let him do the damage he wants. So I think I know where you're coming from, Shu, but you, sir, entirely invited upon yourself what is now happening. The MRA, and feminism are the same thing as far as you're concerned. Well, allow me to attempt to curry your concern. When Nick Redding of Men's Rights Edmonton responded to you and did a very good job of defending the men's rights movement, and he was very polite about it. I am not here to defend the men's rights movement. I am here to do whatever I can to help my fellow humans to not say utterly retarded shit. And I am not polite about it.
One says they're for equal rights for women, one says they're for equal rights for men, and then when you press them on it, they both say they're for equal rights for everyone. Fine, whatever, you're the same thing then. You're just arguing about what you should call yourselves.
Steve Shives says he's a skeptic. And you say you're a skeptic. And when either of you are pressed on it, you say, well, I don't believe in bullshit. Fine, whatever, they're doing the same thing. You both claim the same thing. Therefore, you're both vapid, head-flapping ponces. What did I do wrong there? What did I do wrong there? I neglected to mention the niggling little detail that Steve Shives is a fucking liar. And you neglected to mention the niggling little detail that when feminists claim they want equal rights, they are completely fucking lying. You're saying this in response to Steve Shives. Steve Shives lying about shit, claiming he wants equality when he wants no such fucking thing. You know how much feminists lie. You know that they make their fucking living from lying. An entire faction of your audience and your worldview rely on the stark observation that when feminists say they want equality, they are lying. But you will still take that entire principle of yours, that entire section of your worldview, and fucking defenestrate it at a moment's notice for the sake of mocking men who want their children back. Are you seriously fucking serious? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying the other thing? That when men's rights advocates say they want equality, they are also lying. Babies aren't being mutilated. Families aren't being broken up. Men aren't being denied the basic due process of innocent until proven guilty. It's all just the same whiny, made-up bullshit as the wage gap. Is that right? Men's rights advocates are also standing up at the UN and saying we're being victimized, so you have to fuck up the internet forever. You know this happened! It was the last thing you talked about before you got onto this!
went to the UN and told them that they're fucking mean to her. The opposite of feminist is not misogynist. The opposite of feminist is not a feminist.
All except for this one particular kind of not feminist. This kind of not feminist that calls itself an MRA. It is not the opposite of feminist. It is the same as feminist.
Anyways, just like you were saying, though, it's the horseshoe theory. But not only are, at the top is like, say, us, the people who refuse to identify as either.
Are you a women's rights advocate? This is all just terminology at the end of the day, but this is how it works. If you are a women's rights advocate, but not a men's rights advocate, then you are not an egalitarian. If you are not a women's rights advocate, and you are not a men's rights advocate either, then you are not a humanist. Unless you only advocate for the rights of non-binary pansexuals. Is that the corner into which you're going to paint yourself? Because you would by no means be the first. Look around you! Those people are everywhere, and they're called wankers.
You get on the bottom of the horseshoe on one side, feminism. The bottom of the horseshoe on the other side is the MRA. They're like right next to each other. They make all the same arguments. They do all the same things.
Don't get angry. Don't get angry. I'm going to do that for you. Okay, so let's look at the sets here. You got an enormous group of feminists over here. Literally millions. Probably as much as hundreds of millions. They have nothing left to fight for in terms of equality. So all they do is bully people. You got another one over here called Christianity, another one over here called Islam, and so on and so forth. And, over here you've got an online community of maybe a couple 100,000 people. A couple 100,000 atheists. Saying, keep your feminism away from our atheism. Over here, you've got another, maybe a couple 100,000 people saying, keep your feminism away from our games. And by the way, as a Gamergate supporter, I have, of course, encountered the argument, UGGs are just the same as the SJWs. You're both just extremists arguing with each other about pointless shit. And as a skeptic, I have, of course, encountered the argument, you're just as extreme as the religious people. Do you have a considered response to such an argument? That's a rhetorical question on my part. My point is you have an answer to it. I think if you jiggled your fucking brain around for 1 second and applied that same considered response to the men's rights advocates, then I wouldn't have to say all this shit. But you fucking don't, so I do. So basically, the men's rights advocates are the one group of non-feminists who aren't in the non-feminism club. Because you've decided they're not non-feminists. They're the same as feminists. Because this is what you do with the horseshoe. One end of the horseshoe is the 100 million strong faction of feminists, whom we all mutually know and acknowledge to be insane. And you can step over the huge amount of atheists saying, hey, feminists, don't take our atheism away. You can gingerly maneuver around the huge amount of gamers saying, hey, feminists, don't take our games away. And you can look at the tiny paint spot of humans saying, hey, feminists, please don't take our human rights away. The people saying, don't separate men from their families, their homes, their jobs, their educations, or any sensitive part of their skin against their will, and that's the other end of the fucking horseshoe. It's the same as feminism. In the face of a worldwide dilemma in which feminism is attacking your favourite thing, and your favourite thing, and your favourite thing, you're looking at the people who are brave enough to say, I am a men's rights advocate, and you're deciding, those are the people we exclude from the non-feminism club. See, right, okay, now that you're getting several MRAs up in arms going, wow, you said mean things about us. Is that what's going on in your head? You're going, wah, MRAs are saying wah. Yeah, this keeps fucking happening. You get to say retarded shit about men's rights advocates, and then when men's rights advocates say, oh, hey, we have a response to the retarded shit you just said about us, you stick your fucking fingers in your ears and go, oh, what a bunch of whiny faggots, what are they bitching about this week? Yeah, we're bitching about the retarded things you say about us. This is what we deal with everyone fucking does this. You think you can say retarded shit about people and then just forget, just jettison any memory of you saying the retarded shit. And it's fine because it's just MRAs. Fuck them. They deserve it for some reason. Why do you do this? Why do you think it's okay to treat human rights advocates like the new kid in school? Like, permanently. Every fucking day we come into this school and it's like you all forget that we exist so you can just treat us like the new kid again. Hey, new kid, why are you such a whiny faggot? What? Why are you lashing out at me? I didn't do anything. See, he really is a whiny faggot. Did this ever happen to you in school? Right? I reckon this happens to like at least once to most kids. Like when some douchebag is behind you in class, like poking you with a pencil or something over and over and over again for ages. And then right at the moment when you finally flinch and go, get the fuck off. That happens to be the moment when the teacher looks up. So that's all they see. They see two students messing around. So you both get detention. Because you're both the same. You're both as bad as each other. That's what it's like being a men's rights advocate. Every fucking day. And I really hoped atheists would understand. I really hoped gamergaters would understand. But no, you've got to have someone, haven't you? Someone you can pass that punch onto. Do you actually want to abolish this system? Do you actually want to get off this ladder? Or are you perfectly fucking happy being on the second rung? And despite all this, I'm not going to tell you you're just like everyone else. I'm not going to tell you you're a feminist just for doing the exact same shit the feminists do. I'm still not going to call you a feminist because you don't identify as a feminist. You probably identify as a long series of attributes like the one I did at the beginning, a different one. And most feminists identify as a completely different series of attributes to either one of us. Most people have a unique combination of such attributes. And I would rather address individuals on an individual basis than broadly cast everything I don't understand into the same net of it's not worth understanding. I would put the same challenge to you that I would put to the feminists. If you're going to say shit about men's rights advocates, would you be so, generous as to furnish us with an example? At least one goddamn fucking example of a men's rights advocate being like a feminist. So we can actually have the argument. Rather than suspending ourselves in this ethereal fucking soup where we go, yeah, I guess MRAs are just like that. MRAs are like a thing. They're like this thing. They're like that thing. They're like a double-decker fucking bus this week. How about showing us one fucking thing that a popular men's rights advocate has said? How about actually doing a video response to an MRA? Like you do with religious people. When you think religious rednecks are doing it wrong, you feel the need to prove it with video evidence and polemic responses. When you think advocates of the human rights of men are doing it wrong, you just fucking say so. And it becomes true. Or you just look at the worst anonymous comment you can find in the arse end of an old YouTube video and go, see? This is why you're as bad as the people fucking up our universities. You have a couple of choices now. Person whose name I've not mentioned out of respect. You can go the Kevin McInnes route and say, it was all just satire. was just joking. I was just trying to get a rise out of you. I was just being irksome. Or you could gracefully admit that these statements of yours were ignorant and earnest. Or you can say nothing and move on. I don't care in any case. But if I start to hear shit like, see, this emotional reaction from MRAs just proves everything we said about MRAs was true, then I would advise you to rethink your approach to Google safe spaces. And think of what the reaction to that proves. Yes, have fun with the doublethink and get well soon. Like I say, I'm not here to defend anyone. I'm here to help you all with the utterly retarded shit you keep saying. And that keeps on drawing me towards the utterly retarded shit that everyone keeps saying about men and the advocacy of their human rights. It bugs me, is all. I will play you out with something I buried deep in a Honey Badger episode not long ago. If you make me say this shit again, I will say it again. Over and over again. Until you stop saying this retarded shit. Goodbye. And try actually being a skeptic instead of just a cynic. Alrighty. I've got an analogy. Right. Egalitarians who don't understand how feminism works are like agnostics who don't understand how religion works. I mean, particular flavors of agnostics, the pompous ones. Agnostics who think they're better than atheists and better than religious people. It's a position very often taken by those who don't understand enough about the subject to have an educated opinion. But instead of just saying, I don't understand enough about this, instead of saying, I am ignorant of this, instead of saying, I don't know, are you seeing the irony? Agnostics will say, you are both wrong, and I know because I'm in the middle and I see all things. Well, guess what? There's more than one middle. Well, pretty much everything is just another middle. Feminists certainly aren't on the far end of the gynocentric spectrum. There are crazy radical feminists that even most moderate feminists will denounce if pressed. And MRAs certainly aren't the far end of the manosphere. You've got to admit the craziest ideas usually come from MGTOWs and certain PUAs. Men's rights advocates are the equivalent of women's rights advocates. Because men's rights are the equivalent of women's rights. You don't get to pretend they're not. And there is no equivalent of feminism. There is no institutional dogma in any school or any university that clearly and plainly, in theory and in practice, favours men's rights over women's rights. Not even the religious schools. And if you can't see that, then maybe you're not quite as centrist, not quite as egalitarian as you think you are.
That was amazing.
Mic drop!